Sometimes the simplest question is the best one, right? How do you do that? Tim Legler alongside us. And last night of Nikola Jokic, you said he's the most decisive basketball player you've ever seen. Naturally, people are going to react and say, well, what are you talking about? But you're not a hyperbole guy.
No.
You believe that this guy he has a definitive idea of what he's going to do, and then he does it. How did he demonstrate exactly what you were talking about last night in this game?
Yeah, I mean, my scope of knowledge of the game, right, when I fell in love with it, is going from the early 80s to now, Scott.
You've seen some hoops.
I've seen it all. And I try not to be a prisoner.
You're not
of the
that
moment.
guy.
I just don't like doing it, but he really is. I mean, everything he does is purposeful. It all revolves around him, but I think what I saw tonight in the first half was this is a really well-rounded team. I mean, you look at the way they started. They went to a mismatch with Aaron Gordon. Then Jamal Murray got it going with some action. At this point, Jokic hadn't really even gone into anything remotely resembling scoring mode. Perfectly willing and content to just take what's there.
How rare is that for a true superstar to just completely I don't have to shoot? That's rare to me.
Yeah, think about not only a star player, but a star player that has 2 MVPs, and everybody's wondering, like, does he have validation because he hasn't won a ring? He's finally on this stage. He'd have every right to want to come out, maybe take 6-8 shots in the first quarter, right? And show people what's what, because it does feel like he can score kind of when he wants to. But he realizes that's not necessarily what's going to make their team hum. What makes their team hum is him making decisions with his passing and his anticipation to get other guys shots, to make them feel included, to give them confidence, and to make them ultimately really, really difficult for any team to guard.
We were having this conversation last night. Philosophically, if you're the Heat, and Coach Spoelstra, we both have massive respect for what he's about. You almost wonder if you say to Jokic, you invite him to shoot and say, listen, you get your 50. And then we're going to bank on the rest of the guys not getting 55. Because Jokic you almost have to goad him into that because he's not going to do it of his own volition, is he?
Correct. He's one of those players that would almost become self-conscious if he shoots the ball 4 times in a row.
Right.
Because he doesn't really want to play that way. Obviously, he went an entire quarter and he didn't take a shot till the very end of the quarter. That is an interesting question in going forward for the Heat and how they're going to play this team. And do you dare him to play more one-on-one coverage in the post or in the mid-range area of the floor and try to stay home with those other guys so they don't get going? And then you got this incredible balance across their lineup. I mean, all 6 of their top guys played well tonight. So you do wonder going forward, is that something that maybe Miami's going to force him to do, is take advantage of more scoring opportunities for himself? Because I think he would be reluctant to play that way.
I'm not kidding when I say Jokic is sublime. You've got sort of evidence of what it is he does in the passing game.
Yeah, what he reads, how he hurts you, how you have to continue to guard everybody on the floor.
And why you called him last night the most decisive player you've ever seen.
Yeah, he doesn't waste any emotions. Every decision he makes seems to be perfect at all times. This happened to the Heat a number of times in the first half, which is these cross matchups in transition. And you can see in this case, that's Jamal Murray. He ran the floor, and Bam was the only guy back. So he ran with them. And the reason that's important, because now here comes the big fella. He's lumbering up here at half court, and that means right off the bat, you're going to have a smaller guy on him. Jimmy Butler's going to pick him up, and that tells Jokic right off the bat, okay, I'm going to go right down to the post end against a smaller player. Now, when he catches the ball, Scott, most of the time when a post player catches the basketball and he sees a guy in the strong side corner basically sitting in his lap, and he sees the guy guarding him is on baseline leverage, he clearly is going to want to spin to the middle. That's what any post player is going to want to do when they feel that kind of coverage in their lap. But watch what happens. As he's trying to figure out what's going on, take a look at this. He drops his top foot into the paint because he wanted to spin this way. But that's exactly the time when Highsmith came running from the weak side of the floor to crowd this area. So what does he do? Let me just pivot away from it. And just that quickly, he makes that decision to now put both defenders on the high side, which gives him a clear vision to the weak side. Now he's watching one guy, Kyle Lowry. What are you going to do? Are you going to jump out to the shooter? If that's the case, I'll hit Aaron Gordon. You want to stay here on Aaron Gordon? And it helps when Aaron Gordon very smartly here sets a nice screen on Kyle Lowry, and then this ball is just delivered on a rope to the weak side. So even when Jokic, it looked like you defended him properly, his instinct to spin away from traffic and make a great play out of it anyway. Now, here you go. This reminds me actually a lot of when Parker and Duncan used to run pick and roll. Look how deep it is. This is below the foul line. They don't want to switch this, but when it's this deep, you don't have a choice. So as Murray comes off, you're going to get the switch. And once again, Jokic now with a smaller guy in the post. And this is what I'm talking about, having to defend them the entire time he's got the basketball, even on the weak side. It's a great read right here by Porter. He's going to set this screen. You're going to see a little flare cut here by Murray. Heat don't play this very well, but the reason is because Gabe Vincent is very concerned about Porter setting this screen and popping out, but he doesn't communicate that. Instead, now Jamal Murray floats to the open spot, and once again, the ball's delivered perfectly, exactly where it needs to at exactly the right time. Murray steps into it on balance and drains a three. So the first quarter, Jokic didn't spend much time in the post, right? Second quarter, he started taking advantage of these switches and mismatches to get down there and seeing how the Heat were going to react. And as you can see, he can pick you apart from that position on the floor better than any player in the NBA.
We both have great respect for Eric Spoelstra and this Heat team, right? And no one's going to take one game and say that this is a wrap. I'm not saying that. But Brian Windhorst was like, just fundamentally, there's some issues here that I don't know how you solve them from Miami's perspective. Do you share that
I do
sense?
feel that way, and that's kind of how I felt about this thing going into it. You know, I said to you, I believe the number I said last night was you're going to have to get to 110
right.
just to be in the game. Yeah. Well, it turns out
110 would have won it.
Would have, but I also think that Denver definitely did not come out of the locker room and start the second half with the same approach with, a 17-point lead?
Well, certainly not the fourth quarter.
Correct. So I felt like their offense really wasn't firing the way that we've seen it. Or that number probably is going to be 110. And I just think that's going to be the case pretty much every night in this series because they can just break you down so simply by giving the ball to one player and letting him figure it out.
Right.
And if you want to play him straight up, he'll shoot over Bam all night long. If you want to play him and send some traffic his way, he will make the right decision and empower the rest of his team.
But obviously, Miami didn't get to this place by wilting
Correct.
after one game, although, as we have now pointed out many, many times, they did go on the road and win game one in all these other series, which set them up pretty well. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.